People, Deluded, I'm back again. Somebody that I've been trying to get onto the channel for a very, very long time, but we got here. Gabby, how you doing? You right?
I'm good. I'm good.
I
It's
mean,
been a struggle.
don't be shy, don't be shy, don't be shy, man. Let people know where you are, where you're from, all that kind of stuff, man. You're making your debut, man. I got to know about you.
This is true. I'm making my debut. Well, to be fair, I just came back from Jamaica, so that's why I couldn't do it
Hey,
earlier.
brownie points.
um, well, you can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, all Nocturnal Gunner except Instagram. But yeah, I'm normally on the Shirtless Plantain show. That's where people know me
I
from.
big
At
them
least.
up, man. I watched that. Big them up, big them up, big them up, man. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's actually a chance to ask you everything Arsenal because I've never shared my thoughts with yourself, and you've never shared yours. So the first thing I want to ask you: do you make it a manager? Would you make a Mikel Arteta?
Oh, we getting into heavy stuff already.
Yeah, man.
um, Mikel is frustrating. He's frustrating. I think he's a very good manager, but I think he would be a great manager if he left Arsenal. When he has I feel like he would be a better manager if he was managing another club that he knows that he could get fired from. I think he's a little bit too comfortable here. He has a little bit too much leeway.
Why do you think that?
Because he just I feel like he continuously doesn't make the right decisions. Like you know what I mean?
Oh, chance, man. You got to be specific because I don't think you're wrong, but be specific, man.
Oh man, there's so many things. Personally, I have a vendetta against Five, so that I want to see him get out of here. He should have he should have been gone. And I just feel like squad building, even in the way that he doesn't use people that we love, like not using Emil enough, and then letting him go, or the profile of players that he wants. Like I'm a Kai Havertz fan for Arsenal, but that's not who I wanted that summer. Like sometimes I feel like he just tries to reinvent the wheel. You're thinking too hard. It's not this hard.
I think that's a good point. Do you feel there's enough pressure on him then in that regards? Because you kind of alluded to it. If he was at another club where there's that risk of getting fired, maybe you get to see this potential that he undoubtedly has.
No, I don't think there's pressure on him at all. I think there's internal pressure on him, like from himself. Like he wants to win things. He knows he wants to win things with Arsenal, but I don't think the club puts pressure on him at all. I don't think he'll get fired. Even if he were to not win something next year, I don't think he'd get fired.
Next season, he would even if he doesn't win something next year and we're
No.
silverless. Why? Because surely he's got if he's that good and we're this good of a team and whatnot, which is true, we have to get over the line. Like, why you really think he wouldn't be fired?
No, I don't. Arsenal
Why
don't
though?
fire people, which is how you know Unai Emery was terrible. They don't fire
True.
people.
I mean, I think you're downplaying Arsenal. So what? You don't think the Cronkies are like good owners in terms of demanding silverware?
No, I
Damn,
do not.
damn.
I don't think they're demanding it. I think they want to be stable. I think they want to be competing for stuff. And if we win stuff, that's great. But I don't think they're like chop and change like the way that Chelsea are chop and change or the way that like Real Madrid are chop and change. They're not gonna do that.
How do
But
you feel about it as an American? Like, how do you, unless I'm wrong, like, how do you feel about the Cronk? Like, how are the Cronkies viewed in America? Because us as football fans, obviously people watch other sports, but primarily we are focused on Arsenal. Like, how are they viewed as sports owners? Because I see all their other teams succeeding in terms of silverware.
so for the other teams, I think all their other teams except one has won a championship in the last 5 years. All of them except the Colorado Rapids and MLS. So like it I feel like they put a lot of time and energy into their American teams, at least those franchises. But in Arsenal, it's kind of like you see what you can do. Like if you win something great, but if you don't, I just feel like if they really wanted to get us over the line, and I'm not obviously I'm not a Chelsea fan, so I'm not asking you to spend 500 million, $1 billion. Like I just you know what we need, you know what we need. Just spend the
Facts.
money on the specific things that we need. That's it.
Haven't they given Arteta money though? Like being devil's advocate, like is it a case of Arteta's had a budget and he's not spent it in the way required?
I think it's both. I think Arteta, like, I have been asking for a new sporting director. And obviously, we're going to get to Berta, but like, he needs somebody to keep him in check because the things that he wants to spend money on, like getting another defender, getting another defensive midfield, we need to
Left backs
refresh
and
the
goalies
attack,
seems to be
bro.
us.
We need to refresh the attack. But like when push comes to shove, I felt like we weren't spending enough on the big ticket items, which the last time we spent like on a big ticket item was Declan Rice. And that's somebody that Arteta wanted a lot. Like he's a defensive minded like midfielder, so yeah, of course he's gonna want him, and of course we needed him, obviously. But like we haven't refreshed our attack in like ages because Kai wasn't meant to be an attacker. Really, he was meant to be in our midfield. So I'm
Yeah,
like
and it didn't work out.
Sorry, and that's it. Like we need something.
I think you're right, man. And when you actually look at it, I think Arteta's done well generally with, the defensive signings, the goalie signings. I know there's a lot of stuff to speak about per se with Declan Rice as an 8, but I think Rice is the least of our problems. Number 5 is number 5 and all of that. Odegaard's having a crap season, but generally he's done his business. I think when you look at the front three, and I think everybody could see, like, we need to get someone that can score goals. And when you look at our front three, really and truly, Saka and Young Wanyeri, they're 2 free products. They've come for our academy. Trossard, not that we've bought many academy players, not that we bought many attackers, sorry. Trossard's been one of our better players. As you said, we kind of failed upwards and stumbled on Kai Havertz up front. So I definitely feel the striker thing is where we need to go. And obviously left wing. Why do you think we haven't either signed a left wing or a striker? And like, do you feel there's a particular profile? Because this isn't anything new.
I personally, my theory is that it comes down to Arteta. I think that they want the perfect player, and if they don't get the perfect player, they don't want anybody, which is the problem. Like there are plenty of players out there who could have helped us this season that we didn't go for. You know what I mean? Like personally, I mean, I wouldn't want us to like just go out and panic buy Asensio, but look at what he's doing for Villa. Like he hit the ground running. To say that there was nothing out there, if we don't get a Nico Williams or a Rodrigo, is crazy to me. I feel like they're so stuck on their on getting the right profile or the perfect profile, and if you don't get the number one target, you don't want anybody else on the list, and that you can't run a football club like that.
Who do you think, like, well, not in terms of name, but like, because I do agree with that. It's like the perfect profile, but like, what is the perfect profile for a striker? Obviously, goals is what we need, but like, what kind of niche things do you think Arteta or Arsenal are looking for?
For Arteta and Arsenal, I feel like they want a Kai Havertz who's a bagsman. That's what they want. That's like the
True.
perfect striker for them. So somebody who is more clinical than Kai. That's the perfect striker. And there's not a lot of players like that out there who are not already at their teams, like at their clubs. So I'm like, who are you looking for? Because the players that we're linked to right now, like we're linked to what 3 players right now, like Ekatike, Isak,
Sesko, Isaac, yeah.
Sesko. Those players, they're all missing something. They're all missing something. The Isak one, he's almost perfect, but he's injury prone. Like,
You reckon he's injury prone? I think people exaggerate it. He has had injuries, but when, like, has he really
listen,
had
bro,
that many this year?
listen. He's injury prone and he's expensive. Like I said, the Kroenke's not just spending money just to spend money. Like they're not gonna do that. I feel
True.
like if you go and spend it on an Isak, that's 120 million. That's what they're asking for, 120 million. And Newcastle already hate us, so they're gonna get that money. I feel like the Kroenke would be like, all right, well, if you want Isak, then you're gonna miss out on something else. Then you're not getting the winger, or then you're not getting the midfielder or whatever. And we need too many things. We need too many things.
Is that right? Going into this summer, like, obviously we've got a long shopping list and a bit like how we felt last summer, but considering what's happened this season, it's like you do have the feeling that Arsenal need to address all the areas. Like for me personally, striker, left wing, central midfielder, long-term partner for Declan Rice. I think we need another left back, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful to Lewis Skelly or Calafiori, but Lewis Skelly is very young. To ask him to do it for the majority of the season is a lot, and plus he could probably play in midfield. Calafiori defensively is how do I put it nicely? He needs to go on a defensive crash kind of course. So I do think we need that. We obviously need a couple of goalies, and we need to get on outgoing. So it's like, how confident are you that Arsenal are going to do everything? And like, how vital is it, in your opinion, if it is, that we address all these areas?
I'm laughing because how confident am I that Arsenal do everything? When has Arsenal done everything ever? We've never ever gone to a transfer window and
True.
gotten everything that we need. Never.
True.
Which is why I'm scared for us to be linked with Isak, because I'm like, if you get Isak, you're saying that this is the only thing you're getting. You might get Zubamendi and that's it. Like you're not getting anything else. And I'm just like, you might as well go for. I mean, I don't think Ekatike is worth 80 million right now, but you might as well go for a Ekatike or a Sesko and then go get me a winger and also get me 2 midfielders and a left back and a goalkeeper, because we know we're going to get that too.
What's your dream striker for our club in the summer?
Honestly, if I know this is terrible to say,
No,
like,
say it, man. You're allowed to say what you want.
because so many people want Isak, and I said if he wasn't, if I believed in him not being injury prone, then because Arsenal got terrible luck in that department,
Yep.
I would say he would be the dream striker. But honestly, I would prefer we get a Sesko. Like that's what I've been calling for the last few months since last summer. I want Sesko really bad. I just want somebody who's so unlike Jesus. Like I'm not a Jesus fan at all. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
want
Careful,
my
careful,
listen. Listen,
careful.
Joko Benito got to go. I'm so sorry. I don't want my striker to be the creator. I want my striker to be in the box. My problem with Jesus is that he's everywhere but where he needs to be, if that makes sense. Like he is creating on the wing, he's dropping down into midfield, he's, everywhere, dribbling past 5 players, doing all that stuff, but he can't bag. And that's the problem. I just want my striker to be like, I know this is hard to say, but like a Lewandowski, just a bagsman, just be in the box. That's it. Like one shot, one goal. That's what I want from you.
Do you think that's a fallacy though? Because like where I look at Gabriel Jesus, even Eddie Nketiah or Kai Havertz, the Marino experiment that's going on at this moment in time, none of them are clinical per se, and it's like all of them have the same kind of remit. Like they are left wing, they are on the right, they are dropping inside into midfield. They do have to be in the box. So it's like, is it a fallacy if we just expect we're going to get a bagsman that's just going to stand in the box and score? Because I don't think that's what Arteta wants per se.
I don't know if it's a fallacy, but I do agree that it's not what Arteta wants, and I think that's the problem. I would like to change the
Yeah,
system a little bit where our creators are around our striker. Like obviously Saka's a scorer and a creator, but Odegaard needs somebody to like carry the burden. Because at this point, it's just him and Saka just carrying the burden of creativity. And Declan Rice is pitching in a lot, but he's not. That's not like typically his bag. It's just something that he's learning now. I feel like you need to put your. We're not in central areas enough. We don't play in central areas like nearly enough. We're playing on our wings and our fullbacks. That's where all our creativity comes from.
facts.
And I'm like, get some creators in the midfield. Like, why does nobody want to create in the midfield? I don't understand it. Like, why can our left wing create for himself? I want that to happen before I get a striker who wants to create for everybody else. I don't need you to create for everybody else. I want people to create for you. And you just score goals. That's it.
I don't want you to
All the
cook. I just want
creativity
you
is
to
the
eat.
extra stuff.
Yeah, I think you're bang on the money. I don't necessarily think you're wrong in that regards, but it's a double-edged sword because I do think Arsenal have set themselves up for disappointment. Because like what you alluded to, it's a thing where we keep hearing we want a striker, there's no profiles on the market. So this mythical striker, whoever it is, whether it's Sesko, is that whatever have you, they need to be the best thing since sliced bread, or at least there's a degree of expectation. Now, I'd love to be proven wrong. I don't think we're getting Isak, whether it's because of the finances, why the contract talks, a variety of reasons. But then added to that, it's hard not to be excited with a guy like Isak. So it's almost like there's an anti-climax if you go and get, to a degree, a Gyökeres, a Sesko. So I do think the club have to address all areas. You kind of touched on it, central areas, and I think you're bang on the money. I'm pleasantly surprised you took the conversation there, because do you think it's as simple as we get Isak or ex-striker, ex-left winger, and all of our problems gonna go away in terms of breaking down low blocks and, as you mentioned, penetrating central areas?
No, I don't think it'll go away. I think that it'll help us a lot. Obviously, like when you get a bagsman, they pull defenders towards them. So like it'll leave somebody else free. But I feel like what you touched on earlier is like you got somebody who could score you 20 goals a season or whatever, like an Isak. And I'm just like, I know people hate on Kai, but Kai scores you. He's still our top scorer right now, which is a problem. But
That's the
like,
problem. Yep.
which is a problem. But like he, in my opinion, at his best, he scores you at least 15 goals a season. And I
In the
just think
Prem.
that's in the Prem. Yeah. Because he's last season he scored what, 12 to 15?
Second half of the season. And to be fair,
Second
did
half of
start
the
playing
season,
up front.
yeah, but we didn't have him at the top in the first half of the
So
season.
you reckon in August, like let's just assume he's fit, because I know he's injury and there's a bit of a tax to get back to fitness, but let's assume he's fully fit. This injury is irrelevant. He's starting up front. Just ignore a new striker, but he's starting up front from August until May. 38 Premier League games. You reckon he's scoring 15 Premier League goals?
12 to 15, yeah. I think he's scoring that. And if you get another striker, let's say you get a Sesko or a Ekitika or whoever, you don't think that player can score you at least 10? That's 20 goals a season right there.
Is
That's
that
20
enough
goals a
though?
season right there. And if you get your left winger like you're supposed to, your Nico Williams, who can create for himself and also score, because we're missing the goals from Martinelli. That's really what we're missing. We're missing the goals from Martinelli. And I'm like, that's enough goals right there. But the problem is, it's not just the scoring, because I feel like we create chances sometimes and we just don't score. But a lot of the times we're just not creating enough. We get stuck on that, creating the two chances, the two clear cut chances that we miss, and that's it. That's all we got the whole game.
Facts.
Like, you shouldn't have just two chances in the game. Like, you should have chance after
Shouldn't be
chance
able to count.
after chance.
We really shouldn't be able to count our chances. And I think you're bang on the money. So is it a thing where that there's a lot for Arteta to do on the training front as much as it's a case of signings in attacking areas?
I think it's both, but I think it's more like attacking side. I think Arteta has done, like, he's squeezed as much as he can out of this squad. Like, at this point, we should have won the league at least once. To be fair, we should have won the league at least once. Unfortunately, Saliba went down that first season. Then we just lost out. That game, and those games in December last year, like, killed us, those draws.
The
And I'm
fine
just like,
margins.
we're so close, but you need something else. And I feel like it's an oversimplification for people to say, well, you just need a striker. It's not just that. We need something else too. We need some more stuff too.
I think you're bang on the money, man. We need a lot. I don't think there's one single reason as to why Arsenal haven't won the league in the last 3 years. I don't think you can just blame it all on Arteta, all on the board, all on the players. I think there's a mixture, and some people involved at this football club have to hold more blame in certain other areas than others. You kind of touched on it then, like, why ain't we won the league in the last 3 years? Like, whatever way we shape it, is it a failure?
Man,
Because people did say, fair enough, you're fighting a juggernaut of Manchester City. First year we fought for the league, fair enough. But they said City are so elite. If City ever fall off, we're there to pounce. Liverpool are still in a transitional period. We ain't won the title. They're about to, regardless of what happens with their players.
personally, I don't think last season was the failure. I think it
Oh,
was the season before that and this season. Those 2 seasons are the ones that were the failures, because 2 seasons ago when Saliba went down, I know that, like, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, you shouldn't fall apart when one player goes down." But, like, look at when Rodri went down from Man City, we weren't saying that. And I'm just like, I don't think we should have fell apart. Saliba's important, but we should have had like enough of a squad, or as good as a squad, like, to
should have
supplement
depth.
that. Yeah, supplement that. Like, it just can't be that. It just can't be fall apart, and in the way that we fell apart. Like, we were miles ahead of everybody else. Clearly the best team in the league that season, and didn't win it. And that was heartbreaking. But last season is kind of just like, it is what it is. You at a certain point, we were perfect in the second half of the season, and we lost one game, and we didn't win the league. We lost by 2 points. This season, egregious.
Been
Egregious.
terrible from the
You went out
start,
into the
really.
transfer window knowing what we needed and didn't get it. And now we're like looking like this. And
Don't
granted,
forget January.
we're still second. Like, Arteta did what he had to do. Like, tactically, we're still a really good team, but we knew what we needed and we didn't get it. And now we're like, all of our attackers fell apart. Like, Saka's out, Jesus is out again, Kai is out now. I'm like,
Martinelli's
you're
just
hanging
come
on
back
some.
as well. And there's
Yeah,
been a
exactly.
plethora of injuries, really.
It's just frustrating, because this was the season that you should have been like, if Man City go down, like, we should be there to capitalize, and we're not even close to Liverpool.
I think you're bang on the money, and that's my issue. I feel of the 3 years, this season's been rubbish from the start. I feel we missed the ball in the transfer market. I do feel there's games where I've been happy and I'm like, you know what, fair enough. But there's been games we've won and I've been more kind of angry than when we've lost, just because the devils are in the details. And I feel those same things we got away with isolated to one game, it's not going to happen. I do think across a 38 game season, you draw when you don't deserve to draw, you win when you don't deserve to win, you lose sometimes when you deserve a bit more. But across a 38 game season, typically you get what you deserve, regardless of injuries. Like, I do think Arsenal fans, there are valid claims in isolation around injuries in which we could have helped that. We could have had depth. Arteta last year, 2 points, said we needed more depth, right? Then you also look at the referees. You're taught at Sunday league level whether the refs are an excuse or not. Play to the whistle and control the controllables. And I still think there's a lot of tactical issues that have been the same. I slightly disagree with what you said about the title challenges, because I think 2022-23, you're not wrong. I just feel for me, that year, I'll cut them a bit of an excuse. You didn't expect to be there. You weren't built for it. Last season, I think we should have got it over the. We should have really got it over the line. I think we were very good defensively. It felt like I could smell it in the air. And to be only 2 points off City, everyone remembered the Villa game. But you go back to that December period where we struggled to score goals, which goes back to what we said earlier about our need for needing a striker. And obviously, I said it as well earlier. Like these issues are nothing new. This year, I don't think we're better than the 2022-23 season in attacking third. I don't think we're as good as we were defensively last season. And I just feel when you look at the transfer market, when you look at January, where you look at the way we're playing, one thing I've liked in the previous 2 years is that Arteta has built and evolved the system. I'm sure he would disagree, but to me, as an armchair expert, I have not seen that. We're still reliant on Bukayo Saka. We've still got players that should be squad players at best, and we're making them the starters. Like, I can't be surprised if we want to be a team that challenges and gets top four, we're doing all right. But Trossard's not good. If you want to win the title, Trossard's not getting you enough goals. Martinelli, you don't know what you're getting in a negative sense. Saka is doing the business. We've been relying on Lewis Skelly and Wanyeri, who are talented, but they're young players. Declan Rice is playing as an 8, fair enough, but that left-hand side has still not been fixed, and it's a far cry from that very standout season Martinelli had. And then you look at injuries, which, last year we missed some key players at certain periods, but we knew about that, and I think it was an air of complacency. This year's it is a case of like the last 2 seasons and a case of like what could have been and would have, should have, and what ifs. But I just feel like, the saying in life, you start as you mean to go on. I think we've started poorly, and then ultimately we're kind of at where we're at. Where are you at with the Champions League, though? Got Real Madrid. Are you hopeful it could happen? It's happened before. 06, we beat them.
It could happen. I do not think that we will beat Real Madrid, but I'm okay with that because I want Arsenal to lose to the teams they're supposed to lose to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't mind going into this tie as an underdog. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted us to beat PSV because you should never be losing to PSV. We're clearly better than them.
You would have got cooked on Twitter, man.
They got cooked. If we happen to beat Real Madrid, great. I say, listen, we all know that players and clubs can fraud their way to a Champions League final. I've watched Chelsea do it, so I wouldn't put it as put us out of it. But when it comes to moments, that's the one thing we don't have. We don't have moments players. We have consistent players, but we don't have moments players. Like when you need a big moment from your players, we got maybe 2, maybe.
Who's
and
the
I'm
two?
just
Saka's obviously one.
Yeah, and Saka's one of them. So it's just like, no. Even if we keep Real Madrid out for a while, Vinny or Jude or someone will find a way. They always do, and they have Juju in the Champions League, so it's kind of just like fair enough.
Who's the other player? Because you mentioned Saka being one of them with difference makers or able to do something. Who's the other one in our squad?
I know this is going to sound crazy, but I actually feel like it's between Declan Rice and Gabriel, and I'm going to lean towards Gabriel because away day Gabriel,
he's been clutch this season. You're right.
Crazy. He loves a big game. He loves a big, especially away. Like, can you imagine a bullet header from Gabriel at the Bernabeu? Like, I'm just saying, I can see it.
We got the first leg at the Emirates, man. Where do you let's talk about Real Madrid a bit in depth. Where do you think it's won or loss across the 2 legs? What would be your starting 11? I
feel like the starting 11 just has to be what it's been recently, especially with Calafiori out now. I think it's the same backline: Mazu, Skelly, Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber. I don't think Declan Rice. That Ben White should be playing this game because he's just coming back from injury and he's still a little bit rusty. David Ryan goal. Obviously, we're gonna need a double pivot. Unfortunately, I don't want to play 5, but you're gonna have to at this point. You're gonna have to. Declan Rice 5, Odegaard. And then the attackers are just what we have. It's not like you can really swap anything. I personally think that Ethan will probably play.
I think he should.
I think he should play, but knowing Arteta, he'll do some crazy shit like put Martinelli, Trossard, and someone else, Mikel Moreno up top or some crazy shit like that.
So you're not risking Saka? Well, I wouldn't even say risk Saka because he's projected to be back in April. You wouldn't start Saka for that? He's potentially even back for Fulham.
Hell no.
I'm going to go against the grain.
Listen, I know people want to put Saka. They're like, oh, we're playing against Real Madrid. He should play. Listen, I'm going to go against the grain. I don't want him to play the rest of the season. The season's over for me already. I don't want to see him play the rest of the season. Get fit, maybe play a couple minutes at the end of the season in nothing games, and then rest. That's it, because you're gonna be playing a lot next season. Like,
World Cup year as well.
like exactly. Like, I'm just like, no, I don't want
So
him
where's
to
this concern come from? If he's signed off fit by the medical staff, like surely you're panicking for no reason. Surely he's
But
eligible to play.
to be fair, like the medical staff always also signed off Ben White. He played with injury the whole of last season.
And the year
Like,
before.
there's a lot of players who are playing through injuries. I think particularly this season, but like last season as well, who shouldn't have been playing. Who shouldn't have been playing. Like, I would prefer they just like relax a little bit, especially when I don't think that we're gonna win. And I know you shouldn't say that. Like, there's always a
It's a
chance
bit
to win the
defeative.
game. But it's just like, bro, whatever.
You don't feel that the fact that I can't quite say we've got nothing to lose, because at the end of the day, it's the Champions League. You want to advance to the next round. It is our last slim but last chance of silverware. You don't feel the fact that we are underdogs. Everyone expects us to go out. That could be an advantage because we can kind of behave a bit fearless.
We could, but I'm thinking about the downside. Like, I'm a risk averse person, like when it comes to like injuries. So I'm thinking about, like, if Saka comes back and then gets re-injured, then what? You just
But what
wasted
if
him
he
for no
stays fit
reason.
and gets injured first game in next season? Then what?
Listen, at that point, then that's just a freak accident. This is like Timbers was. First game of
Yeah,
the season
no.
to your ACL, it's kind of just like, you know what? Fair enough.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Would you put Martinelli up front?
I actually would like to see that. I would like to see Martinelli as center forward, but Arteta's not going to do that, so I'm not even going to
No,
talk
he's
about
not.
it. He's not.
I don't expect him to change anything, and that's I don't know it. I wouldn't quite say it gives me confidence because it's Real Madrid. We ain't got our key players. They're much better than us. I'm not trying to have a defeative attitude because once we go out there, we need to do what we're doing in it. But that's also a caveat in that I know we're going to set up. I don't think we're going to get battered. We're going to be quite solid defensively. We're going to try to do the low blocks thing. Personally, I think Real Madrid got too many gears to their game and too many ways of playing, much less the quality in the bench for us. But that's what I like. What I don't like is also sounding like a hypocrite is we're going to do the same things. Like, it's probably going to be Mikel Merino up front. It's probably going that there's not going to be a formation change. And I feel we're quite predictable there. I think it will come down to fine margins and that we'll compete. They might get two chances. We might get two chances. And as you see, where we're concerned, it's the luck of the draw. 9 times out of 10, it bags. And as you know, they've got black magic where the Champions League is concerned. If we did win the champs, yeah, like, has Mikel Arteta righted his wrongs for this season? Can he be forgiven?
Absolutely. If he wins a Champions League, I will say nothing bad about him for the rest of his tenure. Like, I'm not even joking,
Fair
because
enough.
that's something that we have never done. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we have a European trophy, but we haven't gotten this version of the Champions League. And like, our pedigree
Or the last
in
one.
Europe is bad.
It's
Like,
horrible.
it's horrible. So if Mikel were to win a Champions League this season with our best attacker, absolutely. I can't say anything. Nobody, no rival fan, no pundit, no Arsenal fan could say anything about Mikel after that.
I don't think you're wrong. What do you make of while we're on the topic of cups, yeah? Like, because when it comes to Arsenal, or specifically Arsenal under Mikel Arteta, as you rightly put, I think we've been embarrassing in Europe. Arsenal fans, young and old, some have seen us win a trophy or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, we've lost finals. Like, Arsenal fans, young and old, can see that in Europe. Our pedigree is horrible. Even the Invincibles, as much as I'd loved them growing up, the one thing I would say is I think we should have given it a go in the Champions League a bit better. And we was 13 minutes away from winning in Paris, if I can remember correctly. So I want to see that. But I do cut the club a bit of like an excuse if there was one for the champs, because we're not big dogs like that. Like, it is that the Prem, nobody can convince me in the last 3 years we couldn't have at least won one. Maybe I'm being greedy and saying a double, but then it brings me to the League Cups, because since Mikel Arteta's, or the domestic cups, because since Arteta's won the FA Cup, I think we've been quite embarrassing in that. The League Cup, okay, no one's going to scream and shout and proclaim, but for a team and a manager that I can't describe as winners, whether they've won trophies elsewhere or not, we haven't done that, and surely that builds a mentality. So it's like, what do you feel of the cups? Because some fans would say it's like we're throwing away the little trophies to go for the big one, and ultimately, we're empty-handed.
Listen, I'm going to be a villain now, because Mikel and the Cups has been horrendous since that
Chalk and
first
cheese.
FA Cup, which we almost didn't have any of the players that we have right now. Like, he had a horrendous squad when he first won the FA Cup against Chelsea and City. Like, the fact that we have gone out every year without fail is horrendous. And I hate this whole, we don't care about the Cubs, bigger fish to fry, and we've never fried it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like what are you talking about? Bigger fish
Facts.
to fry, and we've lost the Champions League in the league 3 years in a row. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Also, I just feel like winning is a habit. Winning is a habit.
Facts.
Once you win that first trophy, and I know we like technically Mikel has won that first trophy with the FA Cup, but like not with this squad, not with the squad we have right now. And this squad is good enough to win things. Once you get that first taste of winning, it's easier to win again rather than to get that first. And I feel like we just can't get over the hump of our first. I don't like the way that we go out in the Cups. We always look horrible when we. And I know people will say, "Well,
Facts.
we're swapping players. We're giving like backups, like starting positions in the Cups and stuff like that. What do you expect?" And I'm like, how come the other teams who give their backup starting positions in the Cups don't go out like this?
Have a
We
bigger
look
squad, I'd say.
horrible. That's true. They do have bigger squads, but we look horrible. Genuinely, we look horrible in the Cups, and we should never ever look horrible. I don't know if it's like tactically we need to like change some things because we have players who are not, Kivior coming in for a Saliba or a Gabriel. Obviously, it's not going to look the same, but no, I wanted us to get a Carabao Cup this year. Personally, that's what I wanted this year. I was like, listen, I don't think we're going to win a Champions League. And if we win the league, great, but I don't see it from this transfer window. So I'm like, get me a Carabao Cup and then go again. Or FA
It's,
Cup.
it's fully got to that stage, man. In that the League Cup, the semi-finals, okay, we lost the event to the eventual winners. There's no shame in that. But I can't look at those two legs against Newcastle and say we gave it our all. We did lose to the better team, but we didn't put our best foot forward. And if they beat us, fair enough. You were the better men on the day, fair play. I think we shot ourselves in the foot. Man United is heroic from them, it's shambolic from us. We should have killed it in 90 minutes. But it will say that we went to the lazy view on this season will be hiding behind injuries, despite the fact that we're 12, 13, 14, 15 points off Liverpool, going out to Real Madrid. If that does happen, which to be fair, there is no shame in that, especially a depleted squad. But that will kind of gloss over the season a bit more. The FA Cup, if I haven't mentioned that, we lost on penalties. The League Cup, we got to the semi-final. So it's a bit of a rose tints. And I agree with you in that, the first is a lot harder than the rest. And I think we've got that monkey on our backs. It's like when you look at the vast majority of our players, I could be wrong, but Saliba ain't won nothing at Arsenal. Partey, 5 because you're here, hasn't won anything. Gabriel ain't won anything. Saka won the FA Cup, but he wasn't the Saka he was now. And we need that winning mentality because it kind of tailors on to what I want to ask you in that. How long do you think we can hold on to Saliba, Gabriel, and Saka? Because obviously they've been part of this project, like the manager, developing and whatnot. Now they're quote unquote becoming established. We all know there's contract talks with all three. Surely they've got to be looking over their shoulders and thinking Real Madrid, this one, that one, and the third. Surely they've got to be looking at the summer or even January as fans and thinking, "Ooh, why don't you act?" Because Declan Rice said it. He was like, "I'm sure we'll act in the market because Tierney's playing left wing." And unless I'm mistaken, I didn't see no one arrive in January or recalled from a loan like Fabio.
Listen, I'll counter you with another question.
Go on.
You said how how long do you think we could hold on to them? Who do you think is going to be the first to go? If somebody does go, who do you think? Who do you think it would be? Let me ask you that.
One of the centre halves.
I agree.
It's a good
I think
question.
it's going to be one of the centre halves
Go on.
too. I think it would be.
No, it's techie. It's techie. Go on. I just need to think. That's a good question.
So I actually had this conversation with our dear friend Jessica.
Shout out. She doesn't know Arsenal. Big her up. No, I'm playing bigger up. Man.
And I think they're looking to move away from Gabriel already.
Oh, don't start this stuff, man.
Which don't get me wrong, Gabriel's my guy. I would.
Oh, thank you. All right, it's cool. You can speak.
I would sell a lot of players before I saw Gabriel, but that's just me. That's my boy, and I just feel like he brought Calafiori to be a center back, like for sure. He wants that X factor at center back next to Saliba, and I think that he's going to move Gabriel on if a really good offer comes from Saudi. I just feel like you shouldn't do that personally. I know a lot of people are talking about Saliba to like a Real Madrid or something like that. I don't think Saliba wants to leave. At least not yet. I don't think he's there yet. I think he has plenty of years left. I mean, center backs don't hit their peak until their late 20s, and he's not even there.
Does he have plenty of years at Arsenal? I don't know.
Yeah, because I was like, I think he has at least 2 years left before he wants to like for real go. Unless we go into this transfer window and still don't get what we need, then you're sending him a message that you don't believe in us winning stuff. I think it's like you sell one of the other big players up top. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Saka's not going to leave, at least not for now.
He
But
right if he leaves. He should never be allowed to leave. If I'm completely honest with
exactly,
you,
I
that's my
think you
son,
sell
man.
like a Odegaard, a Martinelli, like a Kai, so one of those players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those
I don't
are.
know who's gonna buy Kai, but I hear it.
Listen, as much as people hate him, that guy before he came to us was linked with the Real Madrid, was linked with the Bayern. Like
And none of them
every
went for him, so it's a myth. Like none of them went for him. We were stupid enough to buy him.
hey, listen, I don't think they wanted him for the price, but we're the only ones who were willing to pay that 65 mil, which is crazy to Chelsea, but fair enough.
Exactly. So if he's sold tomorrow or whatever, I know you're not necessarily saying this, but no one ain't. You could argue. I can't really say his stature has risen because he won the Champions League at Chelsea, or I can't really say he's held in higher regards. But I do feel when you look past the obvious talking points people have around Kai Havertz, and you just look at the fact that, as you said earlier, he is one of our top goal scorers. He is one of our key players. He looks a lot more happier in an Arsenal shirt. He's probably, I wouldn't say he's got happy moments at Arsenal in comparison to Chelsea because he won the champs, but there probably is. If Kai Havertz was to retire today, there'll probably be a lot more Arsenal highlights than the ones at Chelsea beyond the Champions League goal. So I hear it. But despite that, and him being like 25, we're not getting that 65 million back. I do hear it though, and
We're never
we
gonna get
will
that 65 million back.
we will
Never.
circle back. We will definitely circle back on outgoings, yeah. But to go back to your question, because you did counter it with a question, it's an interesting one because, like you said there, like the Saudi Arabia thing for what Gabriel, because that's happened with Gabriel before. With what he could get offered, I could not say no in it. That's life-changing money. Personally, I think you can still do stuff in Europe, but these opportunities arguably only come once in a lifetime, right? And he is the oldest. So in terms of future proofing and planning, we have to be looking at targets. Saliba, I think everybody knows he goes to Real Madrid. With Real Madrid, it's a bit techie. I think they've shown they'll play the waiting game with a lot of the free signings and even Trent. They might wait for Saliba's deal to run down. You did rightly say that he doesn't, I don't think he wants to leave because he says, I want to win stuff with Arsenal because I want to be remembered. I don't know how far that goes because people are allowed to change their mind. And respectfully, Saliba, a career short, Real Madrid is there. And then I think Saka would be the last. But at the end of the day, like these lot are 24 now. It can't be nice being the bridesmaid and never like the wife. You know, some of these, Saliba actually, France World Cup, he lost that. Declan Rice and Saka, they lost that. Obviously, in the Premier League, we've been coming up second fiddle. So you got a question to ask, and then but then again, you argue no matter what you get for Saliba or Gabriel, I don't know the replacements, but you need to replace that directly. So you're going to have to spend significant money replacing them, and individually and collectively, they're both great. They stand up in the league as two of the best and the best partnership, and the same with the world. I would say Gabriel because 100 million, you've got something to think about in it. You really have something to think about. I'd say Gabriel Magalhaes, and it would hurt. I actually think right now with where Arsenal are at, Saliba's obviously the higher ceiling player and the champagne footballer and whatnot. But considering what I've seen from the last 2 years and Gabriel Magalhaes in particular, personally, I think we'll miss that a lot more. Not to
I
downplay
agree.
Saliba. But look what he's doing. Like you mentioned earlier, the man is scoring set pieces. It's the mentality. He's almost like the big brother to Saliba. He's like the big brother, really, for that whole defensive unit, bar Raya, because you got the young Lewis Skelly next to you. And actually, Calafiori is 22. So I'd say Gabriel Magalhaes, then Saliba, and then Saka. But then I want to throw another thing into this year. Do you think it's realistic? Like, you mentioned your boy Kai Havertz, he's got 200 odd million. He's 200 odd million. He's earning like 200 odd thousand. Gabriel Jesus is not going anywhere. Bust his ACL. Definitely not on significant sums. Surely Gabriel Magalhaes, Saliba, and Saka, they've got to be getting, not that I'm pocket watching, but they've got to be getting that 200, 300 odd. Like, can we really afford that? And to do things in the market like Nico Williams is 200 grand, a week. I don't think we're going to get Isaac, but that's something. Some people want, as you keep saying, number 5 to stay. That's something. Like, do we really have the facilities to keep them all? Look at
I
Liverpool.
think I think we have it like the facility to keep them all. I just think that it's important to build your squad well. You know what I mean? Like you can't go like if I'm fucking around and I'm just like putting random people in our squad, I'm like, get me a Bruno G, get me a Wharton, get me like a Nico Williams, a Isak, whoever. But like you can't do that. You can't do them all like that. So I feel like if you're gonna go get the big players, the strikers or the wingers that are going to cost a lot because attackers always cost more than like further back, then you have to give something up in the midfield. You have to give something up at left back, and I'm cool with that personally.
You're
I
cool with
rate
not
like
signing a left back or a centre mid. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. I say I listen. I think we're good enough that we can get a center back who's not as good as Gabrielle and still look really good.
Yeah.
Especially if we get good attackers. If you start scoring more, like in the big moments, the one shots, one goals that we always concede. Listen, I'm not worried about how many goals we concede after that. I don't care.
So
I don't care.
you'd be happy with a winger and a striker, and we don't address midfield
I
if
don't
it
know if
came to it.
I don't know if you can't not adjust midfield. Personally, I'll tell you what I want my transfer plans to be. We
Go
started
ahead.
getting linked to Bruno G, right? And I hate that guy personally,
How can you
but
hate
he's
him?
also he's an asshole, man.
We need
He's
that.
an
We've got
asshole.
them at
I
our
I
club.
know. Jess says that all the time, but I fucking hate that
Jess
guy.
is right. We need that.
I hate that guy.
We've done the nice guy things. We're finishing last with nice guys. Like we
Like
need.
fair enough. I think that you spend, especially if they don't get Champions League, Newcastle don't get Champions League, he's gonna be going for around 60. I say you go get him. 60 or 80
Is okay,
million.
guy. Oh, you're talking
I
about
say you go
Gomari.
get Bruno G, you go get a Nico Williams, you go get, let's say you go get a Sesko. That's good enough. If you if you want to go get a Garcia for your backup goalkeeper, fair enough, or whatever. I don't think that's that expensive. Once you start hitting, I don't think Crocken's are going to give us 300 million. They're not. They're not doing that. I say you're looking at 250, and you need to sell people too. Zinni needs to go. Like Kivior needs to go. Like all those players need to go.
Oh, don't tell Jess that, man. She loves Kivio, man. I
She
tried to tell
hates
her
that
he's not
shit.
the guy, man, but
I
she
do
don't go
love
for it.
Kiwi. I'm Kiwi high too. I love him, but he's got to go.
How can you not love him? What's he good at? No,
Listen,
too much
Kiwior is not a
sentiment.
left back. He's not a left back, man. And he's also just. I just think that unfortunately we're Prem fans because we're Arsenal fans, but there's just some players who are not meant for the Prem. They are. There's just some players who are better in other leagues, and I think Kiwior would be really good in Serie A,
I
personally.
just think, do you know what? Banter aside, I just think Kivio needs to go play football, and you're not going to get to a level that you can get to in this current situation at Arsenal. I obviously, if we need to sell to buy and we need to raise funds, naturally, Kivio, Trossard, Zinni, these guys their futures are subject to speculation. I don't mind Kivio if he wants to. If he's, I don't want to say happy, because I don't think anyone's happy in a predicament like that. But if he's happy to be a body and he thinks raw, this current version of Kivio, I'm not going to get a sweeter gig than Arsenal, then great sort of stuff. But you need to go and play. I think he lacks a lot of confidence. I hear you with the left back thing, but I just think people look at him like, even Sunday League, like you could play against a defender and know they don't fancy it and you're going to get him. Obviously, we've been speaking about Calafiori being a centre half, Gabriel staying. I reckon before that, we might even get another left-sided centre half before Kivio would get an opportunity. And then you throw in theory, Benjamin White, Timber, Tomiyasu, if we ever see
I
the other myth.
disagree. I don't think we're gonna get
They're,
another
they're
center
all
half.
playing ahead of him. You
I,
don't,
I'm
you reckon?
No, I think that
Arteta's a
Mikel
stickler for that,
rates
man.
Calafiori way too high to not play him at center half if Gabriel were to go, and I also think that he values left back too much. Like he's gonna go get a left back. He's gonna go get another left back because right now I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but Tommy's my boy, and I say you keep him if he comes back from
Can't
this
sell him anyways. He
surgery.
has to stay for now, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. He has to stay for now, but if he comes back from this surgery and is good, you keep him. He's our after like the starters, he's our best defender. I still think he's our best one defender.
Yeah, I've said that before. I think 1v1, I can't lie. I think Timber is throwing himself into that mix kind of thing now.
Yeah, it's
I think from
close,
what I've seen
but
with Gabriel, but I agree with that. And that's the thing with Tommy, though. Like, you've got to stay fit. And I don't know about yourself, but there's a lot of things at Arsenal that I'm kind of done with. Like, I love Martinelli. Jess will tell you that, but I'm kind of done with expecting you to score goals. I'm done
listen,
with
so
expecting.
I want to sell him personally, but a lot of people don't want
Wait,
to hear that.
how can you want to sell Martinelli? He loves the club. He's still a big game player. He's better than Trossard. He's got unique qualities. He's always up
I
for
just
it.
think that you're gonna get more money for him than Trossard.
How much you think you're? Yeah, you will. But how much are you getting for Martinelli? You're making a better profit, but like, what we getting for Martinelli this summer?
I think that Martinelli at least goes for 40 to 50. Personally,
And you
I
want to
think
sell
he
him for 40,
at
50
least
million
that.
quid? You think it's worth selling him for 40, 50 million quid?
If you can go replace him, yeah. You don't think you can find another winger for that?
But
I
we
think
need
you
to
can get
find one
Jurgen
anyways.
for that. Like,
But we need to buy one anyways. And like, it's a double-edged sword, like, because we need players that are better than what we've got and that come into the 11, but we also need numbers. That's one thing that peed me off in the summer. Like, couple man left. I love Smith Rowe, but at the end of the day, you wanted to go, cool. We got a good fee. Eddie and Ketty, happy for you. Definitely happy for the price tag we got. Fabio Vieira, you're not getting game time. You need to go. In isolation, I'm not against it. But we half brought bodies in, half brought bodies out. We need quality and we need numbers. I know we're not going to have a 20-man squad, but I'm bored of this, not just for Arsenal, but everyone. You need depth. Thank the Lord that Tierney, it sounds fucked to say, but thank the Lord Tierney got injured in the summer because he's now become an option. It's true. Obviously, Lewis
That
Skelly and
is
Wanyeri have
terrible to
come through.
say. But I hear
It
you.
sounds fucked to say, but then we'd have less players. Like we've really shot ourselves in the foot. And I don't want to say incompetence because at the end of the day, I'm not working for Arsenal. It's easy for me to sit here and say we could have, should have, would have, and all of that kind of stuff. And I have no doubt they tried. But if I tried to pass a test, if I tried to pass my driving test and I failed, then ultimately I failed. So I don't know if selling Nelly's the right one. I think Trossard's the one that goes.
I hear you, but to be fair, Arteta has been adamant about wanting a 25-man squad. Like, that's what he wants. He said it in interviews before. He said, I want at least 22 outfield players and 3 goalkeepers. That's what
Well,
he
they said we got
wants.
19, so that's about 4
Yeah,
or 5.
exactly. So, like, we're way below where we need to be. And, like, they're doing the whole keep the powder dry bullshit for the summer. So they need to do what they need to do in summer. That's it.
Would you
Like,
keep
they need to
Nelson?
do what they need to do in summer.
Would you keep Reece Nelson?
No. I like you're not keeping these. You're not keeping anybody who's on loan. Anybody who's on loan, they all need to get sold. Not one of them I would take back. I personally, I really rate Fabio, but I don't think Arteta can get what he needs out of him, and I think he would play so much better for another team like Liverpool. He needs to play in a team like that.
He's not tenacious enough for that.
Hey, listen.
Why do you rate Fabio? Now we need to let's delve into that. Like, why do you rate Fabio Vieira? What's there to rate?
Why do I rate Fabio? Fabio is rated like people rate Arda Güler. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, Arda Güler's done more in the game than him. Wanyeri's done anything, done a lot more than him.
Arsenal, when you're playing for Arsenal, you're doing a lot of jobs. You're doing a lot.
But what's Fabio done for club, country? Like, what's he done to be rated this highly by you? What's he done? Good little cameos against United and Fulham, but what's he done?
Man said club and country like people don't want Liao. What's
Liao's done Liao.
I don't want to hear that.
Liao, everybody gets onto me. I think I'll have him, but I think he's good, but I think people overrate him. But he's better than Fabio Vieira. He's done a lot more.
In his position,
Fabio Vieira's done nothing in this game.
I don't think you can compare like players like that because Fabio is one of those players where you have potential. Like, you can clearly see the potential. Like, his ball striking ability, his creating, he's a clear number 10.
So we're rating
we don't play with the number 10, and that's the problem. What'd you say?
So you're rating a professional footballer, you're rating them because they can strike a ball. That's basically what you said.
No, I'm saying that the way that he creates, Fabio is a good creator. He's clearly a number 10, and we don't play like that. We don't play with the number 10.
What's he created? Where? Like, what
does he create? Have you seen Fabio's final ball?
He's got a very good final ball, but I'm asking you, where did we see this? I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just asking where is this evidence?
2 seasons
because we don't play as a 10. We don't play a tennis. Well, it is a 10, but it's a hybrid 8.5. He doesn't do off the ball what Odegaard does, and he doesn't seem like he wants to. Like, half the time when I was at the Emirates and Fabio Vieira was playing, I know Arteta coaches everyone, but he seemed quite peed off. But I'm just asking, at 24 years of age, are we really rating, him for being a creative player and having a good final ball and being able to strike a football? Wanyeri can do that. I get onto Foden. Foden could do that. He's 24.
Foden is a little bit.
Foden's done way more in the game than Fabio. I'm
not going to touch Philip today.
Philip frozen, man.
I won't be a hater today.
Like, I just want to wait. You said Fabio Vieira is a great creator, in it, a good creator, in it. Is this really one? For Arsenal, big him up for the Port.
Bringing up stats. You're bringing up stats. You're bringing up production. That's not the same thing. If people finish your chances, that don't mean you didn't create them. That doesn't mean you didn't create them. Listen.
That's a good point. But what's he created?
You did create them. I just think he needs to play.
Because it's not Ozil or Odegaard thing. Where I agree with that. Like, I've seen bare chances created and no one's bagging. Like, what's he done? I can tell you Fabio Vieira's highlight moments at this football club. I just want to know why you rate him, because Jess is the same. Why do you not rate him this highly?
I know what I see with Fabio. I just don't think he
can't be a good footballer for this club.
He can't be. I don't think he can be what we need, and that's the problem. But listen, Emil couldn't be what we needed either. So
Emil done
what Arteta wants is what Arteta wants.
Emil saved his job. Fabio's not done none of that. A little kid is taking his spot. Smith Rowe saved his job. Don't. Jess will tell you, don't draw out Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira.
I'm a huge Emil fan. I didn't even really want to sell him personally, but like, it just is what this guy is. Arteta wants specific things, and Fabio can't be that. That doesn't mean he's not a good player.
He's finding his feet. No, I think he's a good player. He's finding his feet. I just don't think. I think with Fabio, I'm not gonna lie, with his age and what we've come to expect of Fabio Vieira, I think his loan was a thing where unless you're out of this world, like obviously stats are only something, but Porto fans or footballing fans are waffling about how good you are week in, week out, or you did something crazy like 20 assists. Unless you went back to Porto and came back with that, I think this loan was the beginning of the end. You need to play. You're not in the manager's favor. He's cool to have you in the squad and be a body, and I'm not against that. But it just hasn't worked out with Fabio Vieira. And like, what do you make of the future of him? Because weird things have happened, but like, can we really get a price tag for him, or does he go back on loan, or does he be reintegrated back in the squad? Because Tierney fought his way back through luck, but yeah, he did.
I just think Fabio won't be able to fight his way back to the squad because he's not what Arteta wants nor needs. He's trying to Arteta's trying to mold him into something else, and you can't mold him into something else. That I think that best managers already like see what you are and try to like grow what you already are, if that makes sense. I don't think he's trying to do that with Fabio, and that's why he's failing. I think Fabio needs to go to another team. Like I could see Fabio at like being a depth piece at a PSG, like or one of
Oh,
those
get
big.
out of here, man.
No, I'm
Him,
serious. A
him.
death piece, a death piece. You know what I mean? Like just you don't have to be a starter, but like the way that they run up and down, and you just need somebody to play the fight and ball and for somebody to finish. Yeah, hell yeah, I can see Fabio doing that. I mean, he probably won't be at PSV, but he can be at another team, another club who's in the Champions League, who's playing well, who's playing like that. Yeah,
I hear
he
that.
just
I
can't play
hear
for
that.
us, not in our system.
I mean, Arteta bought him. Arteta's going to have to, as much as people say he hasn't been backed, and I do think there's incidences of not being backed. There's also the other side in that you've got a lot right, mainly the defenders. Once you get into the middle and the final third, Arteta, I think it gets a bit clouded. I think too much people do are not like there's too much around Rice playing as an 8. Yes, he's not an 8. But I don't think that's the worst of our issues. I do think it is an issue. If you look at it under, you've taken someone that's known as a 6 and you're trying to reinvent the wheel at this point in his career. That's him. Partey, have we got the level of quality from Partey? He's been a good player, but have we got the level of quality in that period for him? So what that's about 90 odd million, 45 for Partey, 30 odd for Fabio, Marino's 30 odd, Kai was 65, 100 odd for Rice. He's gonna have to hold a lot of kind of smoke with this, and he's gonna have to get it better. What do you make of Berta then? Like, because for me, obviously, naturally, I'm going to be excited with Berta. He's 12 years at Atletico's experience. The one thing I like about him at the end of the day is I know he's going to come to love the club and know everything with Arsenal and that, but he's not emotionally attached to this thing like Edu might have been. He can maybe look at it with, forget all of that, striker, this, that, and the other. I hope he's given a level playing field with Mikel Arteta. And what I mean by that is if you look at David Raya, Kai Havertz, Calafiori, Marino, the athletic and the more credible journalists, they always say, apart from Rice, not everybody universally agreed on signing this player, but Arteta pushed for it. Now, Raya worked. When there was no need to upgrade on the keeper, that worked. I'm not going to get on to Calafiori. I do think he's a work in progress. I think people are quite harsh on Mikel Marino, but it's not a level raiser where if you only had money to sign a squad player versus a level raiser, you should have probably went for that. And it just feels like whenever there's like we don't know where to go, Arteta gets his way. So I hope Berta is allowed to win some of the battles, kind of thing. But like, what do you make of Berta? Should I be excited about this? Because I think I've been here before. I know it's not the same, but Michelin Diamond Eyes and all that kind of stuff, Sanye experience, nothing to do with Berta. But should I be excited? What do you make of the guy? What do you make of his
I
appointment there yet?
I think that Berta will be very good for us. Personally, I the one thing I wanted in a sporting director, which is I've said this multiple times, I just want somebody to keep Mikel in check. Don't let him just get what he wants because sometimes what he wants is not what he needs, and that's the
Amen.
problem. I think I'm most excited about Berta. I know a lot of people are excited about signings, but I'm most excited about the selling. I think we are a horrible selling club. We don't other than last season when we sold like Eddie Nketiah and Emil Smith Rowe and all those players for good fees, we don't sell well at all, and we don't
100%.
know when to sell. We always wait till too
Ainsley
late to
Maitland-Niles.
sell. And when I look at Berta's like selling, man, you selling Griezmann for the amount of money you sell Griezmann for and bought him back for like less or free? Like, yeah, that's what I want. I want you to do stuff like that. And I always feel like he replaces. He does swing big when it comes to signings too. I think a lot of people will feel happy about that. Now, obviously no sporting director is, inculpable. Like they all fuck it up sometimes, but like I think he has a lot more hits than he has misses. And I think it's a lot easier to get misses when you swing big. When you're buying for 80, 100 million, you're gonna miss some of those. And we already did that. We did that with Pepe. Fair enough.
We
But
did that
like
with Five.
I feel like some of the signings, they're just really good. You buying Rodri for basically cheap to nothing and then selling him to to a Man City, like yeah, that's the stuff I want to see. I want to
He
see
needs
you
to do that.
I want to see you scout well and get players that we're not looking at and nobody else is looking at, and you go get them. And they're what we need. That's what I want. Because all of
I
the
think you're
people
wrong.
that we're what attached to this summer, we've been attached to for the last summer or two.
It's the
And
obvious picks.
honestly, I would love to see new people. I would just love to see like us go and get somebody from left field, like we did Tamiyasu or Calafiori.
How much is he able to change though? Because again, we still ain't seen. I hope by the time we finish, it's officially confirmed that we've got Berta and all of that kind of stuff. But it's not been officially confirmed. Edu left in November. Now, granted, I hope when the window closed, as you know yourself, when the summer window closed, all clubs are starting to talk to potential summer targets and the groundwork's being done. Anyone who doesn't believe me, you can go and just look at what Declan Rice says, Zinchenko says, or half of these players that sign for clubs in the summer. They always talk about how they met their new manager in December and whatnot. But like, how much can he really change? Because Edu left in the summer or November, better yet. He left in November. My man's joining in March. The season's about to, well, preseason and the window's about to open. Surely we already pressed ahead with our plans. Is it just a case of he just needs to, whatever we're planning to do, he just needs to dot I's, cross T's, focus a bit on outgoings, or can he really pull a rabbit out the hat?
I think he could do both. Like I obviously cross like dot I's cross T's, but I don't think you need to change that much. Contrary to popular belief, like granted, I didn't rate Edu that highly, but I think he did do a lot of like a few things well, and I think the things that he did well were like the keeping the players here, if that makes sense. The renewals and the contracts, all those things. I think Edu did that very well. I think it's the other stuff that he didn't do well. The going to big players and convincing them to come to us, paying the money that you need to, or convincing them to come down, working with like specific teams to get like players or to create like a network. We don't do
To
that
be fair, he
enough.
tried that. He did try that in Brazil, and the Cronky said no, to be fair to Edu.
To be fair to him, he did. But like, I feel like we don't do that enough. Like, we
100%.
have such a legacy in Thierry Henry with like France, and we don't utilize that like league enough. Why are we never looking at French players? I don't understand. We always wait until my thing with like Arsenal. I feel like I've been talking about this for the last few seasons, and it bothers me so badly. We value Prem experience too much, way too much.
And
We
we buy the
always want to
wrong
wait
Prem
till
ones
somebody
as
comes
well.
to the Prem to spend big money on them. Why? Why did you not get the Isak when he was at Sociedad before he came to the Prem? Why did you not get the Bruno Guimaraes when he was at Lyon before he came to the Prem? Like, you know what I
Could
mean?
have
Like,
Ajax as well.
I just don't understand. Like, why do you guys wait so long? Like, I don't know if it's scouting, like you don't see these players, because I feel like you have to see these players.
We have to see
Everybody's
them.
looking at these players. So, like, is it something that you just didn't want to spend the money? Like, you didn't think that they could, be good for Arsenal? I don't know. I don't know. But like, we need somebody who has a good network in other places. Find teams that you can buy and sell from all the time. Like, I used to hate going to Leon because what's his name? It was a De Laurentiis? No, that's Napoli. Alice or whatever his name is, that president
Yeah,
for Leon,
or
he
last
talks
or
too
whatever.
fucking
Yeah,
much.
the Leon done.
Yeah, he talks too damn much. But like, there's some teams that you need to have good relationships with. You know what I mean? Like, but let it be in Serie A because he's Italian, or Germany or wherever. You need to be able to
Emerging
constantly go to
markets.
those teams and be like, listen, we already have good relationships with you. Like, we're looking at this player. What can we do? I want to see that. Because I feel like we don't have any relationships with any clubs, and that's the problem.
I hope Ajax one's developing. To be fair, man, I want Hato, but I guess you make some good points. But my last question for you, then, yeah, before I let you get out of here, who'd you get? Who would be your player of the season, and who'd be your top three players of the season?
Man, top three players of the season, easy.
Rank
Declan
them from
Rice,
first, second, third.
Gabriel. Hold on, Declan Rice, Gabriel, and Raya. And then if I were to rank them, I want to say Raya has been so good this season. He's our player of the season, but probably it's between Declan Rice and Gabriel, and that's hard. I have to finish the season because it's probably I'm gonna lean with. I want to say Gabriel because he's my favorite player, but like it's probably gonna be Declan Rice. It's probably gonna be Declan Rice. He's been really good.
I didn't expect you to say Rice. Not that he hasn't been good. I do think Raya's an interesting choice because I don't think he gets his. I do think he gets his flowers. That's a bit of a lie in it, and I do think Raya's been owed a bit more clean sheets. I know he's he could have done better for the United free kick. He made a mistake against Newcastle, but you can count them on one hand. And I like players who I don't like players who make mistakes, but I like players who make mistakes, get up and get on with it. And I think Raya does that. And I do think because of just naturally the nature of football, a week's a long time. And when you've been playing 20 plus weeks in the Prem and all the other stuff, I think people forget. But if you were to look at Raya's highlights, but this guy's made some fantastic penalty saves, double saves. He's done a madness for us, and he's done well. And what I like about that is naturally when you had Ramsdale, which we spoke about at the time, you didn't necessarily need to upgrade on Raya, which kudos to Mikel Arteta. There was that weird space of every good or bad game Raya's having it the spotlight. Like you watch football, the camera's panning to Ramsdale and it's panning to Raya. I hated that. It's nice with that. So I think Raya's a good choice. Interesting with Declan Rice because I think he has been good, but I think he started the season a bit slow and he's kind of come into his own. And I think kind of literally going over what we said earlier, I think with Declan Rice, obviously players need to do more. If you're playing in the 8, and we have to get away from that conversation to a degree of him being a 6 because he's playing as an 8 now. But I just feel with Rice, it's a bit agenda driven with people. It's like if you've ever looked at him respectfully to Declan Rice, who's in the last 2 years improved his output, he's never been that sexy midfielder. He plays with Jude Bellingham and whoever in the 10. His primary job is to be that defensive rock, obviously win the ball and all of that stuff. Everything he does is a bonus. And I think because people can't see beyond that or don't want to, they're onto him. But I think you missed out 2 names, man. I think Gabriel Magalhaes, who probably is it. I know you hate 5, but I think 5's probably been our best midfielder on the face of it, and he's got a case. I would say
that's the problem.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. Partey's been, and it's a season where quote unquote you're playing for a contract. He's the oldest, and I'm going back. I feel like this sentiment. I'm going back to other points, but with Partey, it's annoying because we clearly need a partner for Rice and we need a Partey replacement. But it's like we're only trying to do that when the problem is evidently at our door. It's like you need to pay a bill. You haven't paid your bills. Bailiffs are at your door. And now you want to actually get your credit card out. We're leaving it too late. But for me, I think I'll do it in the same way you did it. I think Lewis Skelly's got to be up there. I think Gabriel Magalhaes has been up there. I think Jurriën Timber's got to be up there. And it's a shame
That's
that
the one
even
I forgot, Timber.
Yeah, you did. And even without them, yeah, you throw in Raya, you throw in Rice. I know Rice is playing as an 8, but I would band these under the more defensively kind of minded kind of players. I know a couple men have scored goals and helped us, and that probably, like what we said at the start of this stream, says everything. For me, from 1 to 3, I don't know why I asked you to do that because it's difficult now. Gabriel Magalhaes, 100% first, because you've been doing it for the majority of the season. Gabriel Magalhaes, Jurriën Timber. It's difficult. Jurriën Timber and Miles Lewis Skelly, but I rate Miles Lewis Skelly for what he's done a lot more than the other 2, if that makes sense. And that's nothing to do with them. That's just because you lot are established players. You lot play for your country and all this. This guy made his debut in September, and look at what he's doing, even dealing with racism and whatnot. And we bought Calafiori for 30, 40 odd quid. He's benched him. So I think that, man, yeah. But then I think should Timber win it? Should Lewis Skelly win it? Should I cut him that luxury? You know what? Magalhaes. Oh, fucking hell. Gabriel Magalhaes, Miles Lewis Skelly, Jurriën Timber. And then honorable mentions, the Rices, the Rayas. I'd actually say Saka as well, man. I think he was on course for a standout season, man. But
he would have been our player of the season if he didn't get hurt, 100%.
And he's still up there for chances and all these things, not just with Arsenal, which tells our issue, but in the Premier League. Like it's a shame, but it's his first big injury, and I guess it's a learning curve, man. Gabby, let us know where we can find you, man. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fun. You can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at Nocturnal Gunner.
It's a shame you don't do content with Jess, man. You lot work well together.
That's funny that you said that. Is she still watching this right now? Because she said she was going to tune in. She
better tune in when it's out.
I won't say anything. She hates me. It's all right.
So Jess, if you're watching, stop hating on your people then, man. Wakanda forever. But yeah, man, people, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Gabby, it's been a pleasure. Everybody, peace. Safe. You always just got to have to run like